Oh my god, why didn't I do a video on this sooner? Now keep in mind, the words I'm speaking to you now are scripted once again, so when I talk about what happened just now, I'm actually talking about when I came to write the script, but I literally just came up with the idea of doing this topic about 5 seconds ago, and I cannot believe that I've not done this before. And the Total War series is perfect for rants, because it's so awesome, Moorish, but not in the sense of the Moors, but each title also has something glaringly wrong with it. Now, let me tell you about my gaming habits. I tend to have a list of games that I own but haven't played yet, and my main objective is to work through all of them. But more often than not, I tend to get sidetracked and end up playing something that I know and love for ages. And for some reason, it's usually a turn-based strategy or an RTS game, and the Total War series is almost universally the go-to series for this style of gameplay. Like, right now, the game I'm supposed to be playing is a horror visual novel called The Letter, and I can't tell you how much I want to rant about that one, so at the risk of sounding like the Vault-Tec rep from Fallout 4, congratulations on being prepared for the future. However, I keep getting distracted by Total War, or to be more specific, Attila Total War. Attila is my weapon of choice these days when I want to play a Total War game. I never got into the Warhammer ones, I've never played Shogun 1, Medieval 1 is too old and clunky for my liking, Rome 1 was excellent, but for fuck's sake squalor, Medieval 2 was awesome, but for fuck's sake Milan, Empire was pretty good, but that always devolved into wars over resources, fuck Napoleon, what waste of an opportunity that was. That's one of my favourite periods of history, and they couldn't even get that right. At least the battles were good. Leaving just Attila and Rome 2 as the games I'd rather play, and despite how much flack Rome 2 got upon release, I still say that it's a good game and very enjoyable. But Attila has updated graphics and features, so that's where I go. Now, I get the feeling that some of you watching this video have no idea what a Total War game is like, so let me explain. Set in a period of history, except for Warhammer, because the devs wanted to get the rights for that instead of Game of Thrones, which they should have done, as that'd be the best game ever, you get to rule one of a wide selection of factions that existed back then. On the campaign map, you build up your settlements, implement policies, taxes, and appoint certain figures to high-ranking positions. You research technologies that unlock more buildings, units, or grant bonuses, and of course, you can hire huge armies. And with these armies, you can take other people's lands and kill their armies. The campaign is turn-based, however, if two opposing armies meet on the field, you have the option of either letting the computer auto-resolve the fight based on statistics, or you can go into the battlefield yourself and command the fight in real time. Everything is about as historically accurate as it gets, apart from what you choose to do and what the enemy does as well. But all of the units and soldiers, buildings and technologies, all of it is relevant to the time. And given the name of this game, this is set during the migratory period of history, so the late 4th century throughout most of the 5th century AD. Here you can select from a number of factions, or more if you bought the questionably cut up DLC, ranging from famous factions such as the East and Western Roman Empire, along with the Sassanid Persians, the Saxons, several Viking tribes, and the Huns led by Attila himself. All the way down to factions you've probably never heard of, like the White Huns and Africa? What the hell is an Africa? Actually, you don't get to play as them, unfortunately. See, here's where my first criticism comes in. You can't play as absolutely anyone you like. For example, there are certain factions that appear, should a rebellion take place somewhere, resulting in a new faction appearing and taking control of the region. An example of this would be Britain, which is a Roman faction, resembling the Roman population that remained and ruled England after the Roman Empire pulled out of the Isles. I would have loved to have played as them. A small but independent Roman faction based in England sounds right up my alley, but no. The only two factions you get to play as are Eastern Rome and Western Rome. And this brings me neatly onto my next criticism. Depending on who you play as, this game is either ridiculously easy or ridiculously hard. It was around this period of time that the Western Roman Empire fell, and to show this, we have the Huns who are at war with Rome around this time, and the Ostrogoths who would eventually conquer Italy not long after. And with this in mind, Creative Assembly made it so that playing as Western Rome is almost a lost cause. That's certainly the biggest challenge in this game: keep the Roman Empire alive. But that is a lot easier said than done. Within a few turns, most of the world has declared war on you. You don't have the armies or funds to protect several borders at once, and the buildings and infrastructures this game gives you accelerates the rebellion process dramatically. I'm not kidding when I say that you can easily lose half of your empire in 5 turns if you're not careful. In fact, my time playing as Western Rome started out with me abandoning vast sections of my land in favour of keeping the richest parts. Goodbye Britain, goodbye Slovenia, goodbye Croatia, goodbye Bosnia, goodbye Switzerland, and everyone get into France and Northern Italy before we lose that as well. And while playing as Eastern Rome is a little bit easier in comparison, it's still incredibly difficult. You could go 100 turns without taking any new land because you spent all of that time stabilising your regions. Fortunately, I only had to abandon Greece in that playthrough, and I eventually was able to take it back, but I still had to juggle a war with the Huns to the west and the Sassanid Empire to the east. 2 wars you never want to get involved in. Meanwhile, play as any barbarian tribe or small eastern faction, and you'll have no trouble rising to power. Okay, money might be too tight to mention when you first get going, but I promise you, get more land and the cash will flow. But speaking of the Huns, this leads me on to my biggest criticism. Attila the Hun is way too OP in this game. He doesn't show up immediately, taking some time to be born and then rise to command, but when he does, oh doggy! While Attila the Hun is in charge of the hordes, they cannot, no matter what you do, be destroyed. Wipe out an army in battle and they'll just respawn somewhere else. Kill this new army again, and it'll just respawn again. No matter what you do, you cannot defeat the Huns like this. The only way to put them down for good is to kill Attila twice in battle. Let me say that again. Kill Attila twice in battle. Not using auto-resolve, not getting someone else to do it, not sending agents to assassinate him.
Not tomorrow, not after breakfast, now!
You have to command this fight yourself and kill him on 2 separate occasions, possibly more than that, I can't remember. And until you do, he'll just keep leisurely walking through your land, destroying settlement after settlement. Everyone's fair game for him, and it's not uncommon to find vast areas of Eastern Europe completely destroyed. I'm not kidding, I can't remember the last time I played a campaign and found that there was actually an Eastern Europe. It's just a barren wasteland because Attila showed up and slashed and burnt everything. I also don't like that, as you increase in size and become more powerful, everyone in the world begins to hate you. Most AI factions don't like rival empires, leading to you suffering a diplomatic penalty, but this is just stupid. I played as Axum not too long ago, and when I first discovered the Picts, I found that they hated me. How is it that a faction based in Scotland hates a faction based in Ethiopia with a passion without even knowing of my existence? All I did was send one small naval unit over to him to discover him and to begin discussing a trade deal, only to then have this complete stranger turn around to me, stick his middle finger up in my face and go, "F*** you! F*** you." Unless all of my representatives are somehow massive dicks when they first show up, and give the worst first impression possible, I fail to see why a faction who has no knowledge of my existence can at the same time hate me with such a passion. But true, you've been focusing too much on the negative here. Are there any positives in this game at least? Yeah, of course there are positives in this game. For example, managing your royal family in this game is a fucking headache. Okay, so that wasn't a positive. It's just that I'm not done with my criticism yet. There seems to be no rhyme or reason why certain family or associated members of your faction begin to lose loyalty, unless they've got a trait that makes them lose loyalty. The only reason I can think of is that you're promoting other people to higher positions of power over them. Oh, my bad. Let me call a wambulance for you. There are only so many positions available right now, and you honestly expect me to promote someone who's considering a civil war to such a position over someone who's loyal as f***? Tell you what, how about I give you command of an army that consists of just you, and send you off to fight a war all on your own? If God wills it...
God wills it!
Then you'll be fine. If not, then bayonara, bitch. And even when you do promote a load of people to positions of power, other people start moaning about it, forcing you to either force promote them, which means your leader loses influence, Or just say fuck it, whatever, which makes your leader lose control of the family. Which he probably has lost control of already, because it's insane just how many illegitimate kids your family will produce. The event messages says that this could be awkward, but apparently it's not, because they keep pumping out bastards to the point where I get the feeling that I could set up my own Night's Watch. But no more bad stuff, okay? What's great about this game? What's great about this game, you ask?
Everything.
There's a reason why I've spent... Wait, let me check on Steam for a second. Oh, sorry, it's got to update real quick. Okay, 300 hours. There's a reason why I've spent 300 hours playing this game, and that's because it offers me absolutely everything that I could ever have wanted from a game that's set in this time period. Have you ever played something like Sid Meier's Civilization and thought, you know what'd be great? Playing this game, but set in only one time period, and where I could fight each battle in real time using realistic strategies, and have the whole thing be way more in depth? If so, then you've literally just described a Total War game. I was into this series all the way back when Medieval 1 came out, and the fact that the BBC used Rome 1 as part of a TV show made me love this series all the more ever since then. Regardless of which game you play, unless you're playing Napoleon Total War because f*** that game, this franchise has so much content, fun, and possibilities to it that it's insane. Want to play as ancient Egypt and invade Britain? You can do that. Want the Roman Empire to last much longer than it did in real life, or encompass the entire known world? You can do that too. If you can do it. In Medieval 2, you could play as the Byzantines, be the first to develop long-distance travelling boats, and go fight the Aztecs on the other side of the world. If there's something you want to do in these games, you can do it, and that's what I love about them. But these games aren't exactly meant for the casual player. Those who have never played a historical strategy game will have difficulty with this series, as emphasis has been put on strategy rather than numbers. I heard a lot of complaints coming from people who have only played something like Age of Empires, and get annoyed when their tactics of recruiting a huge army and just getting them to attack doesn't always work. It's not necessarily the size of your army that counts here, it's how you use them. I almost always fight outnumbered and still have no trouble because of the advantages I exploit in battle. Always taking the high ground when I can, deploying troops as per their strengths and using others to cover up their weaknesses. And if I see the enemy AI making a boo-boo, I'm going to make them regret it by hitting them hard where it hurts. But if you wanted to be plonked down into a specific period of time and just conquer and rule everything in epic battles that can sometimes include up to 15,000 men on it, if your processor can handle it, then Total War is definitely the series for you. In conclusion, I spent most of this video bitching about what's wrong with this game, rather than what it got right, but hey, that's Rant for you. And that's something to keep in mind when playing any Total War game. This series offers an insane amount of badass content for the historical, turn-based or RTS lovers like myself, and any new major Total War game that comes out, not counting Warhammer, is basically a gamer's wet dream for people like me. However, keep in mind that every Total War game ever has also f***ed something up. None of them are perfect, and several design choices always leave you scratching your head. The enemy AI can be dumb at times, and infuriate you with petty tactics and decisions that will grant them small victories against you before getting totally wiped out and making their actions count for nothing, and if you're playing Attila specifically, then prepare to be the most hated nation in the world for literally no reason at all. But at least they tend to honour their agreements with you more than they do in, say, Civ 6. At least when someone goes to war with you in Total War, it's because they want your land instead of, say, because you weren't recruiting soldiers because you don't have the money for it. You know, like actual reasons why wars began. Trivia out.
Sometimes I think this life is killing me.